Section 1. The Ghost Returns. Pearl Harbor, May 1942. May 29, 1942. Pearl Harbor. The docks reek of diesel fuel and salt. Sparks burst from welding torches as men swarm over the battered hull of USS Yorktown, CV-5. The carrier the Japanese believed lay shattered at the bottom of the Coral Sea. Her flight deck is torn open, bulkheads twisted, oil leaking into the harbor's black water. Yet she floats, barely. Chief Boatswain William Red Smith wipes sweat from his brow and shouts over the hammering. 3 days, boys! Admiral says 3 days! Then she sails! 3 days, 72 hours, to bring a crippled warship back to life. It seems impossible. The Navy's Bureau of Ships estimated at least 90 days for full repair. But Admiral Chester Nimitz, aware of decoded Japanese plans for a massive strike at Midway, gives the order anyway. Yorktown must sail, or Midway will fall. Floodlights glare through the Hawaiian night as welders climb her ribs like ants. Cranes lower sheets of steel while torches cut and fuse in quick succession. The air vibrates with urgency, the hum of industry and desperation. Down in the hangar deck, damage control teams pump out seawater still sloshing from Coral Sea hits. Electricians splice melted wiring. Mechanics replace broken arresting cables. The smell of scorched paint and ozone clings to every surface. Above, Captain Elliot Buckmaster walks the deck, clipboard in hand, eyes tired but steady. The ship has already cheated death once. Now he must ask it to do so again. He pauses near the gaping bomb crater on the flight deck and mutters, "They think she's dead. Let's keep it that way until it's too late for them." On shore, civilians gather by the docks, watching the frantic miracle unfold. The once majestic carrier, bruised and broken, now radiates a kind of defiant pride. Newspaper reporters scribble notes, unable to believe what they see. Within hours, smoke begins to curl again from her funnels. By June 2nd, 3 days after she limped into Pearl Harbor, Yorktown is underway. The patches still glow with fresh weld lines. Her engines groan, but she moves. A wounded giant, sailing into destiny. Sailors cheer from the deck of nearby destroyers as she departs. In Tokyo, the Japanese High Command still believes Yorktown lies at the bottom of the Coral Sea. They will soon discover how wrong they are. Section 2. The Trap at Midway. June 4th, 1942. June 4th, 1942. Midway Atoll, Central Pacific. The horizon burns orange with the first light of dawn. The ocean is calm, deceptively peaceful. But beneath that glassy surface, two mighty fleets are converging. The Japanese Combined Fleet, led by Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto and Vice Admiral Chuichi Nagumo, advances with overwhelming force. 4 fleet carriers, Akagi, Kaga, Soryu, and Hiryu, escorted by cruisers, destroyers, and battleships. Their mission? Crush what remains of the U.S. Pacific Fleet and seize Midway. They believe the Americans have only 2 carriers left, Enterprise and Hornet. They believe Yorktown is gone. But in the waters northeast of Midway, the ghost has returned. USS Yorktown steams alongside Task Force 17, her patched deck gleaming in the morning sun. The scars from Coral Sea still mark her hull, but her crew walks with renewed purpose. Above, flight crews in khaki shirts and life vests check fuel lines and arm .50 caliber guns. The flight deck crew has painted over the damage, but the smell of new tar and scorched steel lingers, a reminder of how little time they've had. "Launch positions ready! Fuel up those Wildcats!" The order echoes through the ship. The sound of spinning propellers fills the air. At 0600 hours, Yorktown's first wave roars off the deck. Douglas SBD Dauntless dive bombers and Grumman F4F Wildcats, each climbing into a golden sunrise streaked with exhaust trails. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away aboard the carrier Akagi, Japanese Flight Commander Mitsuo Fuchida peers through binoculars, unaware that his fleet is being watched. He believes surprise is theirs. Radio operators chatter about their first strike, aimed at Midway itself. But American cryptographers had already cracked the Japanese JN-25 naval code. Nimitz knows every move before it happens. The trap is set. At 07:45, Yorktown's radar picks up incoming blips, dozens of Japanese planes en route to destroy her. General quarters sounds, klaxons blare across the ship. Gunners scramble to their battle stations. Anti-aircraft guns line the rails, their barrels glinting in the rising light. The first Japanese attack wave descends. Nakajima B-5N Kate torpedo bombers and Aichi D-3A Val dive bombers. They come low and fast, engines screaming. The sky erupts into chaos. Explosions thunder across Yorktown's deck. Shrapnel cuts through the air like metallic hail. Smoke rises in thick black columns as one bomb hits near the island's superstructure, blowing sailors off their feet. But the ship refuses to die. Damage control parties move instantly, sealing hatches, fighting fires, patching holes while aircraft continue to land and take off. From the bridge, Captain Buckmaster shouts over the roar of explosions. "Keep her steady! We're not done yet!" By 1100 hours, Yorktown's Dauntless squadrons have found the enemy. From 20,000 feet, they spot the Japanese carriers launching another wave. The moment comes. The dive begins. One after another, American bombers plummet through clouds of flak, engines howling, bomb bay doors open. Within minutes, the Japanese carriers Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu are burning, engulfed in infernos that consume their flight decks. On Hiryu, Admiral Yamaguchi stares through the smoke-choked air, realizing the unthinkable. The ship they thought destroyed at Coral Sea, Yorktown, is here, alive and striking back. He turns to his staff, voice low, almost incredulous. Impossible. The Americans rebuilt her? The laughter that once echoed through Tokyo briefing rooms is gone. Only silence remains, broken by the crackle of flames and the distant drone of approaching aircraft. Section 3. The Eye of the Storm, the Second Strike. June 4th, 1942, 1400 hours. The sea around Midway is thick with drifting wreckage and oil slicks. Smoke pillars rise on the horizon where Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu burn uncontrollably. The Americans have struck a blow so devastating it seems impossible. Yet the battle is far from over. Aboard USS Yorktown, sailors cheer the radio reports from returning pilots. But beneath the celebration, exhaustion runs deep. The deck crews move with mechanical precision, refueling aircraft and rearming them for the next strike. The wind carries the acrid tang of cordite and gasoline. Damage control teams patch bomb holes still smoldering from the morning attack. The ship is wounded, but alive, the heartbeat of the fleet. In the Pacific expanse to the north, the fourth Japanese carrier, Hiryu, still fights on. Its commander, Rear Admiral Tamon Yamaguchi, refuses to yield. Determined to avenge his comrades, he launches 2 successive waves of dive bombers and torpedo planes, his eyes fixed on one target, Yorktown. At 14:15, radar operators aboard Yorktown detect new blips. Fast, low, inbound. Bogies, bearing 320, distance 47 miles. The call rings through the ship's loudspeakers. Gunners man their stations. The air is electric with dread. Pilots scramble into cockpits. Wildcats roar to life, lifting from the deck to intercept. Moments later, the first Japanese formation dives through the clouds. Aichi D-3A Vals. Their wings glitter like daggers in the afternoon sun. Sirens wail. Every gun on Yorktown opens fire. The ship shakes from its own fury, the 5-inch batteries thundering in unison. Flak bursts bloom across the sky. The first bomb strikes near the island's superstructure. A direct hit, a blinding flash. The deck erupts into fire and twisted metal. Sailors are thrown off their feet, screaming orders through smoke and chaos. On the bridge, Captain Buckmaster grips the rail, shouting to the helm, "Keep her turning!" Hard to port. But another bomb slams through the flight deck, detonating deep inside. Firefighters rush forward, dragging hoses through choking heat. Steam hisses from ruptured pipes. Below decks, engineers struggle to keep turbines spinning as flames lick the bulkheads. Still, Yorktown fights back. Damage control parties seal off compartments, jettison burning wreckage, and flood fuel lines to prevent detonation. Within an hour, the fires are contained. The ship still steams forward. The crew breathes again, briefly. Then radar picks up another wave. Torpedo bombers this time. From the starboard side, Nakajima B-5N Kates race in at sea level, their silhouettes gliding over the waves like hawks hunting prey. Machine guns blaze from the carrier's side, tracer fire streaking across the water. 2 planes burst into flame, skimming the sea before disintegrating. But 3 torpedoes find their mark. Yorktown lurches violently. The deck tilts. Men lose their footing. Deep within the hull, seawater rushes through torn steel. The lights flicker, then die. For the first time, silence overtakes the guns. Buckmaster gives the hardest order of his life. Abandon ship. Lifeboats drop. Men slide down ropes into oil-slicked waves, looking back at their floating home, the carrier that refused to die quietly. Hours later, as twilight descends, the ocean around Yorktown glows orange with the fading fires. She drifts, listing to port but miraculously afloat. In the distance, Hiryu, the last of the Japanese carriers, now burns, struck by American bombers launched from Enterprise. The tables have turned completely. On the bridge of Hiryu, Admiral Yamaguchi and his officers remain at their posts, refusing evacuation. Flames climb the masts as he orders his crew to abandon ship. One officer begs him to leave, but he shakes his head. "I will go down with my ship," he says softly, eyes fixed on the horizon. At dusk, Hiryu explodes. Hiryu explodes, sinking beneath the waves. And somewhere far off, the drifting Yorktown, scarred and silent, stands as living proof of America's resilience and of a war that has just changed forever. Section 4. The Ship That Wouldn't Die, June 6, 1942. Dawn breaks over the Pacific 2 days after the battle. The waves are eerily calm, littered with oil slicks, fragments of wood, and the silent ghosts of burned aircraft. The USS Yorktown drifts quietly among them, her once mighty flight deck warped and scarred, a hollow silhouette against the morning haze. She should be gone, sunk, forgotten, yet she remains afloat, defying the laws of war and steel. Aboard the nearby destroyer USS Hammond, sailors gaze at her with awe and grief. The ship had fought beyond what any vessel should endure, weathering bombs, torpedoes, and fire. Yet she refused to sink. At 0600 hours, a small fleet of tugs and destroyers surrounds her. Their mission? Save what's left. Repair crews climb aboard the crippled carrier, lugging pumps and hoses through twisted passageways. They work methodically, lowering portable pumps into flooded compartments, clearing debris, sealing bulkheads. From the bridge, Captain Buckmaster, his uniform still smoke-stained, supervises silently. He won't abandon her unless there's no other choice. Divers plunge into the oily water below, their air hoses tangling around wreckage as they inspect the torpedo damage. Every clang of hammer-on metal echoes across the sea like a heartbeat. For a moment, hope returns. The engineers believe they can tow her back to Pearl Harbor. But not all eyes on the horizon are friendly. Hundreds of miles away, a Japanese submarine, I-168, prowls beneath the waves, hunting survivors. Its commander, Lieutenant Commander Yahachi Tanabe, listens to sonar pings echo faintly through his headphones. He knows an American carrier still floats. At 1300 hours, the ocean splits with a faint wake. The submarine rises, periscope cutting through the glimmering surface. Through the lens, Tanabe spots her, the battered hulk of Yorktown, listing but alive, surrounded by destroyers and salvage ships. A wounded giant being dragged home. He gives a quiet order. Torpedo tubes 1 through 4, prepare to fire. Moments later, beneath the calm blue, 4 torpedoes hiss from their tubes. They streak toward the sunlight above, silent, deadly, inevitable. Aboard Hamann, the watchman catches the glint too late. Torpedo wake, starboard side. The first torpedo strikes Hamann amidships. The explosion is deafening. She breaks in half almost instantly, her stern rising as sailors leap into the sea. Seconds later, the destroyer's depth charges detonate underwater, shaking the ocean like thunder. The blast rocks Yorktown, tearing open new seams along her hull. Chaos reigns again. Men in life jackets struggling through oil and debris, shouts echoing across the waves. Despite the carnage, the carrier still floats. For another day and night, she clings stubbornly to life. June 7th, 0400 hours. The sky is streaked with gray when the end finally comes. The list grows sharper, her bow dipping lower. Water rushes through the open hangar deck. The ship creaks, groans as though sighing one last breath. Then, slowly, gracefully, she rolls to port and slips beneath the sea. For a moment, the surface lies still. Then bubbles rise, followed by a single burst of oil shimmering across the dawn. The USS Yorktown, survivor of Coral Sea and hero of Midway, is gone. But her legend is not. At Pearl Harbor, when word of her sinking reaches Admiral Nimitz, he removes his cap and simply says, "She bought us victory. That's what matters." In Tokyo, the Japanese Admiralty convenes in silence. When photos of the burning carriers reach Yamamoto's desk, he stares at them for a long time. His intelligence officers speak nervously about Yorktown's miraculous return, how she rose from the dead, fought, and nearly lived again. Yamamoto closes his eyes, the weight of realization sinking in. "We awoke a giant," he murmurs, and filled him with a terrible resolve. The Battle of Midway would forever mark the turning of the tide, the day the ghost of Yorktown stunned the Imperial Navy and shifted the balance of the Pacific.